I cannot be the only person that gets excited over food when it turns out good. Do y'all see that? Hey guys, welcome back. So this is everything that we're going to be using today. So I do have 3.5 pounds of sliced pork shoulder, and this has the bone in it. This is 2.5 tablespoons of wet jerk marinade, and you guys, I don't have homemade jerk marinade. I'm using ready-made jerk marinade from the bottle. If you have homemade jerk marinade, that's even better. So 2 tablespoons of the wet jerk marinade and 1.5 heaping tablespoon of fresh blend, aka green seasoning. If you know, you know. I do also have some browning since this is oven jerk pork, but if I did it on the grill, I definitely would not be using browning. Some dried jerk seasoning, ginger, pimento, and garlic seasoning, all-purpose seasoning, some garlic paste, but fresh garlic would work also, and some ginger paste. Fresh ginger will work also. This is an oven jerk pork recipe, which is not authentic. Authentic jerk, yes, is seasoned with jerk, and it's also prepared on the grill where it gets nice and smoky. So if you were looking for an authentic jerk marinade, then this is my hard copy cookbook, A Taste of Yard and Abroad. If you already purchased this, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. If you've never purchased it before, you can check this out on Amazon. I do have a recipe for authentic jerk pork in here. If you already have my cookbook, then that will be on page 36. And this is for authentic jerk pork. The seasoning process is pretty similar. It's, of course, a homemade jerk blend. But the seasoning process is similar. The cooking process is what's different. So if you were looking for an authentic jerk pork recipe that is going to be made on the grill, then definitely check out my cookbook, A Taste of Yard and Abroad, which is available for purchase on Amazon. Let's get into the recipe. So as I mentioned before, I'm using thin sliced pork. Since this is an oven recipe, jerk is a combination of the seasoning and that nice smoky flavor. So this recipe will not have that nice smoky flavor, which I personally think is perfect for thicker cuts of meat. But because this is going to be in the oven, you want the jerk seasoning to get everywhere in here. So even if you have a nice thick cut of pork, if you're able to cut it down into smaller pieces, whereas the seasoning can reach everywhere, since this is going to be in the oven where it will not get that nice smoky taste, then that will be my advice on this. Okay, either way, do this however you personally prefer. Me personally, I like my jerk pork in the oven cut a little thin, just so that the seasonings can penetrate in here better and you get that nice intense jerk flavor. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to add is the jerk marinade and the fresh blend. Now, if you don't have fresh blend and you only have a ready-made jerk marinade, that's totally fine. I would say just chop up a half of a small onion really small and about 2 sprigs of green onions and mix that with the jerk marinade. You definitely want to add more to this jerk marinade because this is complete. I know I have preached in the past to you guys before that this wet jerk it's a complete seasoning. No, I changed my mind. You need to add some more stuff if you want this to be top tier. Now, if you also have a homemade jerk marinade, then you don't need any of this. All you need is your homemade jerk marinade, and if you already had added any type of dried seasonings to it, then all you need is your homemade marinade, and that's it. If you only have just the homemade marinade that's blended with the onions and all of that, then yes, go ahead and add the dried seasonings in addition to your homemade jerk marinade. Alright, so I'm going to add my jerk marinade. and the fresh blend. Now I'm gonna go in with about 2 teaspoons of the jerk seasoning. Next, I'm gonna go in with about 2 teaspoons of the ginger, garlic, and pimento seasoning. Next, I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of the all-purpose seasoning, 2 teaspoons of the garlic paste, and if you have fresh garlic, 1 large clove crushed or minced really fine will work. If you're using homemade jerk marinade, then you definitely do not have to add any more of this. 2 teaspoons of the ginger paste, and if you're using fresh ginger, 1 small piece crushed or minced will work. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of browning in here just because this is going in the oven. But if I was placing this on the grill, then browning would definitely be a no-no. As I shared with you guys before, I do have an authentic details recipe for jerk pork that's prepared on the grill in my cookbook. Go ahead and check that. I'm literally only going to add about 1 teaspoon of browning on here. Nothing crazy because this is going to darken up either way in the oven. So just a little bit and it will go a long way. Alright, so I'm gonna give this a nice little rub up, as us Jamaicans would say. So I'm gonna massage this seasoning into the meat, ensure that it gets everywhere, and just massage nicely into my meat. And once I'm done massaging this, I'm going to allow this to marinate for 6 hours. 6 hours is all I have, you guys, but I highly recommend that if you're able to allow this to marinate overnight, oh my god, listen, the flavors will be crazy. Jerk is something that the longer you allow it to marinate, the better the flavors will be and the more intense. Alright, jerk isn't something that I believe you should rush. Of course, everyone's time is different, but if you do have some time and can allow anything that you're making jerk to rest a little bit in the marinade, trust me, you won't regret it. Alright, so I'm gonna wrap this up, allow it to marinate for 6 hours, and then we are going to start with the cooking. Alright, you guys, so we are at the end of marination. I have lined my baking dish with some parchment paper, and the parchment paper is strictly for easy cleanup, no special reasons. So now I'm gonna go ahead and place my pork in here. Now, I'm not adding no grease, no nothing. I mean, parchment paper is non-stick, so you definitely don't need to add anything to this. But this pork is going to release a lot of liquid or juices during the cooking. So even if you're not using parchment paper, I really don't think it's necessary, depending on your cut of pork, that is. But these, I know, will release lots and lots and lots of juices in here. So I know for a fact this would not need anything. Here's our pork in the container. As you can see, I packed them nice and tight. And now I'm going to wrap this up tightly using some foil paper and then place it in the oven. Now, it's important that you wrap this up tightly at the start of cooking, because this is pork. You want it to be nice and tender and juicy. And so wrapping it up tightly, the steam is going to help the pork to get nice and tender and of course stay juicy while it's in there. So I'm going to wrap this up with some foil paper tightly and place it in the oven to bake for 1 hour, and I will be sure to check on this at about 30 to 40 minutes in, just to baste the meat with its own juices. But honestly, you guys, I cannot remember. My oven has already been preheated to 370 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, you guys, so we are 1 hour in, and this is how we're looking. Do you see how much juice has been released from the pork so far? As I mentioned earlier, So now I'm just gonna baste these with the juices that's already in here, leave it uncovered, and place it back in the oven for an additional 30 minutes. I have to grab my gloves because this pan is pretty hot, you guys. So now I'm just basting it with the juices all over the top. And once we place it back in uncovered, that's when it's gonna catch some color. So don't worry about it not having any colors yet. Okay, so this is how our pork looks after putting it in for an extra 30 minutes. Now do you guys see that nice, beautiful jerk color is now coming in? And that's because we left this uncovered. So the last thing I'm going to do, you guys, and this is optional, but personally, I don't really like my pork too wet. I don't know how to explain it. So I'm gonna drain off most of the liquid from here and then place it back in the oven for an additional 15 to 20 minutes, just so that some of the juices can dry out in here a little bit. I don't want this to be too dry. I still want it to be nice and moist, but I don't like it too wet. And that's just a personal thing for me. You don't have to do this. This is optional. Okay, so I left this much juices in here, and now back into the oven for its last 20 minutes. Alright, you guys, that is a wrap. 1 hour and 55 minutes total cooking time, and that's done. So we're going to allow this to rest for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to cut into these. I cannot be the only person that gets excited over food when it turns out good. Do y'all see that? These are gorgeous. All right, so time to cut into these beauties. Do you guys see how juicy these are? Nice and tender. Cut these to however you like.
You still say it's so good.
Because I mean, is this pork so good?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, you guys, you heard it. My son has sampled the pork and he's absolutely loving this. So this is my display. I tried. And there you have it, oven jerk pork. Now keep in mind that your cooking time may vary depending on the size of your pork, but you can serve this with absolutely anything your heart desires. As usual, you know I don't like to end my videos without saying that you never have to follow anyone's recipe to a T. Switch things up if you must. Alright, so if you've made it to this far in the video and you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We are always welcoming new cooking friends. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and share it with your family and your friends. And if you try the recipe, definitely come back and let me know what you think. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Alright, love you guys.